On the day of the engagement party, my fiancé went missing. As I made my 99th phone call and pushed open his apartment door, I saw clothes scattered across the floor and Chloe Williams, my best friend, lying naked in his bed. The engagement party was postponed, and Ethan Taylor cried, begging for my forgiveness. 3 days later, my dad's company went bankrupt. He sold all his assets and jumped from the top floor. I became an orphan. After the funeral, I called Ethan Taylor, but he said, "Chloe's cat is sick, I have to go with her to the pet clinic. I'll come see you tomorrow." I chuckled self-deprecatingly and said softly, "We don't need to see each other anymore. Let's break up, Ethan Taylor." From then on, I went overseas. It wasn't until 5 years later, when Ethan Taylor learned I was married, that he demanded with tear-filled eyes, "Who allowed you to marry someone else? Didn't you say you'd only love me?" I met Ethan Taylor again at a hotel next to the convention center. I was carrying heavy cleaning tools and turning a corridor corner when I collided unexpectedly with someone. I instinctively stepped back half a pace, and as I looked up, I caught my breath. That face I knew by heart unexpectedly came into view. Ethan Taylor looked at me with a complicated expression. "Audie? Long time no see, are you doing well?" I composed myself and said calmly, "I'm doing very well now." Then, without intending to say more, I took my things and started to leave. He reached out to stop me. "Being a cleaner must be tough, right? Well, your family went bankrupt back then, and the debts probably haven't been fully paid off. If you're short on cash, Mr. Taylor." I interrupted him, "We're long over. Besides, I'm not short on money." "Oh, isn't this Audrey Miller? I never thought I'd see you again." Such an affected voice, I knew who it was without even turning around. I turned my head, and sure enough, it was Chloe Williams, the one I was foolishly naive back then to consider my best friend. Just a few years ago, she looked poor and shabby, but now she flaunted her wealth, covered in gold, silver, diamonds, and jewelry. "Long time no see. I have to go, I have something to do." But Chloe Williams grabbed my arm, laughing as she looked me up and down. "You're so poor you're doing cleaning now. You're so desperate for money, why don't you be my nanny? As long as you keep me happy, you'll get a good monthly payment." I laughed in exasperation. She still thought I was putting on airs. "I truly don't lack money. If you have too much money and nowhere to spend it, I wouldn't mind if you just gave it away." Chloe Williams looked at me with disdain. "See? I knew you were short on cash, why pretend?" With that, she pulled out $200 from her bag and threw it on the ground. "Go pick it up, it's all yours. I'm happy today, so I'm giving it to you for free." I turned to leave, but Chloe Williams grabbed my arm. "Hey, why are you leaving? Pick it up quickly. If you don't pick it up, I'll report you to the manager and say you didn't clean well." "Miss, which room wasn't cleaned well?" "I'll go clean it again." A limping cleaner walked over. Her left leg wasn't very agile, and she walked with difficulty, leaning on the wall. I recognized her as Sarah, who had sprained her ankle in the stairwell earlier, and quickly went to help her. "Sarah, why are you back? I told you I'd help you. You really need to get your foot checked at the hospital." Sarah waved her hand. "I won't go, the hospital costs a lot. I borrowed some medicine from the old man downstairs, just for rubbing." I picked up the $200 from the ground and put it into Sarah's hand. "This money I just picked up. Take this money to see a doctor, you can't delay with your leg anymore." "Hey, no, what do you mean? That's my money." Chloe Williams immediately became agitated upon hearing this. "Didn't you give it to me for free?" I looked directly at her reddening face. Someone with Ms. Williams' stature wouldn't go back on their word, would they? Chloe Williams's face flushed and paled by turns from what I said. Her lips twitched a few times, and finally she gave a cold snort. She hooked her arm through Ethan Taylor's and looked at me with her chin up. "Darling, let's go." Sarah shouted at her retreating back. "Thank you, miss, how charitable." After dropping Sarah off at the hospital, I checked the time. Oh no, there was an important banquet tonight. Marcus Sullivan had nagged me all night to make sure I came. The car sped towards the convention center. It was all Ethan Taylor and Chloe Williams's fault. They wasted 20 minutes of my time for nothing. At the entrance of the 36th floor banquet hall, a hostess in an evening gown gave a standard smile. "Madam, please show your invitation." I instinctively reached for my bag, but only touched an empty suit pocket. Damn it. It's on the passenger seat. "Please wait, I'll contact the person in charge." I took out my phone, about to dial Marcus Sullivan, when a sharp female voice rang out. "Don't let her in, she's not a guest." Chloe Williams walked over with Ethan Taylor, with a triumphant smile on her face. "This woman is a hotel cleaner. Her family went bankrupt a few years ago. Just now she was trying to extort money from me downstairs. When she saw I wouldn't give in, she came up here to seduce my husband. A wave of murmurs immediately rose from the crowd. Look at her, dressed so prim and proper. Turns out she's a gold digger. I've seen plenty of women like her. They'll do anything to climb the social ladder. How despicable. Her family went bankrupt because of corruption, like father, like daughter. No wonder the daughter wants to be a mistress. I took a deep breath, not intending to stoop to their level. I had just returned to the country the day before yesterday, so it was normal they didn't recognize me. But they must have heard of my husband, Marcus Sullivan. I was about to dial when Chloe Williams slapped my phone out of my hand. You want to call for help? Chloe Williams looked at me with disdain. Ethan chose me over you back then, and you're resentful, aren't you? I scoffed. 5 years ago, you were the one who climbed into my fiancé's bed. Now you've learned to twist the narrative, a scheming mistress, trying to put on an act in front of me. The surrounding people's expressions immediately changed. Chloe Williams's face turned ashen, and she tugged at Ethan Taylor, sobbing, darling, say something, darling. Who's telling the truth, me or her? Everyone's eyes collectively turned to Ethan Taylor. Ethan Taylor looked at me, his eyes unreadable. Mr. Taylor, what exactly happened? Did you really cheat? Ms. Williams must be telling the truth. She's engaged to Mr. Taylor. She'll be Mrs. Taylor soon. Ethan Taylor's Adam's apple bobbed, and he finally lowered his gaze. Chloe is telling the truth. I scoffed, rolling my eyes. I should have known what a scoundrel he was 5 years ago. What was I still expecting? 5 years ago, Ethan Taylor and I started a business together, and Chloe Williams was his assistant. When she deleted the proposal I had worked on for a week, I angrily confronted her, but Ethan Taylor said unhurriedly, she cried so hard just now that her asthma flared up. Why don't you make a new one? Why be so aggressive and bully a young woman? Even when I went into anaphylactic shock and was hospitalized due to Chloe Williams's mistake, Ethan Taylor still defended her, thinking I was overreacting with jealousy. Now, he stood in the center of the crowd, dressed in a suit and tie, his expression cold, once again personally pushing me into the abyss. Chloe Williams listened to his words, hooked her arm through Ethan Taylor's, and wore a victorious smile. She looked around and said, "You don't know, do you? She's the daughter of David Miller, who leaked trade secrets, causing the company's financial chain to break and leading to its bankruptcy." What? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. David Miller was morally corrupt, so his daughter couldn't be any good either. You can talk about me, but not my family. I snapped my head around, looking at the somewhat balding middle-aged man, and said sharply, "Shut up. My dad is absolutely not that kind of person. There must have been more to what happened back then. I won't allow you to slander him. What could be the hidden truth? If your dad didn't do it, why did he commit suicide? He committed suicide because of my mother." All right, Audie, stop defending yourself. The more you explain, the guiltier you look. Don't you understand? At that moment, Chloe Williams's exquisitely made-up face appeared utterly distorted in my eyes. "Chloe Williams, you're the least qualified person to talk about them." As I spoke, I grabbed a nearby wine glass and threw it at Chloe Williams. Chloe Williams screamed and stumbled back, her high heel twisted, and she fell backward, knocking over the champagne tower beside her. The three-tiered crystal tower collapsed, glass shards flew everywhere, and Chloe Williams's face and body instantly had several cuts. Blood mixed with champagne flowed down. "Ah, my face, my dress." She howled hysterically. Ethan Taylor's expression changed. He shoved me down and said angrily, "Audrey, you're just as vicious as 5 years ago. Don't push your luck." The middle-aged man saw Ethan Taylor get angry and immediately bowed with a fawning smile. "Mr. Taylor, let me help you teach her a lesson." With that, he seized the opportunity to lunge at me from behind, his greasy hand directly grabbed at my chest. "Little bitch, you're quite wild, let me teach you." "I'll teach you, you old pervert." I stepped back half a pace, aimed the thin heel of my shoe at his groin, and kicked upwards with all my might. Ah, a pig-like shriek immediately erupted. She hit someone. This crazy woman hit someone. Chloe E. Williams shouted during the chaos, "Quick, hold her down. Whoever can subdue her, Taylor Corporation will partner with them first." Ethan Taylor frowned and glanced at Chloe Williams, but didn't refute her. 3 men lunged at me simultaneously. I picked up a fork from beside me and stabbed it fiercely into the arm of the man in front. "Ah!" He screamed and backed away, clutching his arm. But the next second, a strong force hit me from behind. Someone pushed me hard, I stumbled backward, tripped on the edge of the carpet, and fell heavily to the ground. Sharp glass shards pierced my palm, and champagne mixed with blood flowed in stark red rivulets on the floor. I struggled to get up, but 3 men had already lunged. One pinned my shoulders, one pressed a knee onto my legs, and the third grabbed my wrist and brutally twisted it behind my back. The middle-aged man untied his tie, used this to tie her up. MMPH, someone shoved a napkin into my mouth. The cotton fabric rubbed against my throat, causing waves of nausea. Chloe Williams approached me, wearing 4-inch high heels. Her heel ground over my fingers. The piercing pain made me tremble all over. She leaned down, her red lips almost touching my ear. Does it hurt? Then, her gaze fell on the necklace around my neck. She playfully picked it up. Look, your necklace is so old. Let me throw it away for you. MMPH. I shook my head frantically, tears blurred my vision. No, don't. That was my 18th birthday gift, my dad personally put it on me. I struggled desperately, but was firmly held down by others. Chloe Williams ripped it off, looked at it in her hand, and then, as if by accident, she cried out and let go. The pendant fell onto the marble floor. She raised her foot, aimed her stiletto heel at the pendant. Crunch. The moment her heel came down, the pendant shattered into pieces. No. I stared fixedly at the shattered pendant, howling in angry sobs. Chloe Williams was startled by my gaze. She stepped back half-a pace, glanced at Ethan Taylor, then seemed to regain her confidence and turned her anger on me. Lock her in the lounge. Let her reflect on her actions and learn how to be a proper person. My shoe came off during the struggle, and broken glass cut my leg. Chloe Williams, still not satisfied, raised her hand and slapped me again. She said viciously, Audrey, look at yourself now. You're just like a dog crawling at my feet. So what if you came from a good family and your boyfriend loved you? Now you have no family, your boyfriend is my husband, you're destined to have nothing. Audrey, you're inferior to me, I'm the ultimate winner. I was still in a daze until the lounge door was closed. Chloe Williams hated me this much? I remembered when she had just graduated from college and couldn't find a job. I was the one who brought her to the company Ethan Taylor and I founded. I arranged an appropriate position for her, but she didn't want it, content to just be a small assistant running errands. Later, as the company grew bigger and bigger, Chloe Williams became Ethan Taylor's personal assistant. They became more and more intimate, but I kept deluding myself until it wasn't until the day of the engagement party that I woke up and saw the truth. The banquet hall doors opened, and the noisy crowd instantly fell silent. Quick, quick, Mr. Sullivan is here. Everyone's faces immediately contorted into fawning smiles, but the tall figure ignored those who eagerly wanted to curry favor with him and walked directly to the reception desk. Has a lady named Audrey Miller arrived? The hostess flipped through the list and said, Sorry, Mr. Sullivan, she hasn't registered. Marcus Sullivan felt a slight disappointment. He took out his phone and checked the unread messages on it. Marcus Sullivan felt a little panicked, so he dialed the number. The next second, the phone rang on the ground beside him. Marcus Sullivan froze for a moment, then walked over with a frown and picked it up. This was indeed Audrey's. He looked around at the people present and asked anxiously, Has Audrey been here? Did any of you see her? Chloe Williams rushed forward as if to claim credit. I saw her. That wretched woman was intent on seducing my husband and she even hit Robert Jenkins. We tied her up. Don't worry, she won't bother you at all. Marcus Sullivan's face darkened terribly. He quickly walked up to Chloe Williams, looking down at her. What did you just say? Say it again. I said she was seducing my husband and hit Robert Jenkins. No, the second half. We tied her up. Marcus Sullivan shot a cold glance, asking in a cold voice, Where is she? Now, everyone present sensed the unusual tone in his voice. They exchanged glances, no one daring to speak. Finally, a young woman cautiously pointed to the lounge nearby. Mr. Sullivan, it has nothing to do with us, please don't. Before she could finish, Marcus Sullivan strode over quickly and kicked the door open. Inside the lounge, I was crouched in the corner, my face streaked with tears. The tie on my wrist was tightly cutting into my flesh, leaving bloody marks. None of my 10 fingers were unscathed, and my lips were pale and trembling. Marcus Sullivan's pupils suddenly constricted. He asked in a cold voice, Who did this? The banquet hall was incredibly quiet. Marcus Sullivan's hands were trembling. Those hands that could turn the business world upside down and sign billion-dollar contracts with unwavering steadiness, couldn't even untie a simple tie. Don't be afraid. His voice was hoarse. His thumb rubbed the bloody marks on my wrist, his movements so gentle, as if afraid of breaking me. I'm sorry, I came late. The cloth was removed from my mouth. I choked out a mouthful of bloody foam, and my throat burned painfully. Marcus. I grabbed his collar, tears mixed with blood rolled down. The necklace my dad gave me is broken. He tightened his arms, pulled me into his embrace. My strained nerves finally snapped, and I sobbed uncontrollably into his shoulder. The ambulance will be here soon. He kissed the top of my head, soothing me softly. But when he turned to the crowd, his voice was as cold as ice. Whose tie is this? No one answered. Marcus Sullivan picked up the blood-stained tie and slowly walked to the front of the crowd. Mine. The bald middle-aged man fell to his knees with a thud. Mr. Sullivan, I didn't mean to, she kicked me first. She kicked you? Marcus Sullivan scoffed, then raised his foot and directly kicked him in the chest. Bang! Robert Jenkins's entire body flew backward, crashing against the mirrored wall of the banquet hall. The mirror cracked, and he groaned, unable to get up. Is this how she kicked? Your name is Robert Jenkins, right? What are you to her? That she'd bother to lay a hand on you? Robert Jenkins was spitting blood, still tried to explain, but was stomped on the wrist by Marcus Sullivan. With a crunch, the sound of his hand bones breaking was clearly audible. My hand. The entire hall fell silent, only Robert Jenkins's screams echoed. Marcus Sullivan picked up the napkin, his eyes narrowed to slits, and asked, who put this in? An honest-looking man crawled out, rolling and kneeling. The moment he looked up, he pointed at Ethan Taylor as if clutching a lifeline. Mr. Taylor ordered it. My daughter is still in college, Mr. Sullivan, please be merciful. He spoke while kneeling and kowtowing on the ground, and soon his forehead was bloody. I believe your name is Mr. Davies, isn't it? Mr. Davies, this year, the Eastwood District land plot will likely not be yours. Get ready to move your entire family. Mr. Davies collapsed to the ground. Mr. Sullivan, my company relies on that project. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Please spare my family. Marcus Sullivan waved his hand, and a bodyguard beside him used a napkin to gag him. Marcus Sullivan's gaze landed on Chloe Williams. He slow. Ly walked forward, asking word by word, you said Audrey Miller was seducing your husband? Marcus Sullivan pinched Chloe Williams's chin through a piece of paper. Is Ethan Taylor even worthy? Ethan Taylor finally came to his senses. Mr. Sullivan, this is all a miss what? Marcus Sullivan shoved Chloe Williams away, disgustedly wiped his hands and scoffed. A misunderstanding that my wife would abandon the Sullivan group to seduce you. I didn't realize Mr. Taylor's charm had grown so much. He really dares to flatter himself. No sooner had he spoken, the paper he wiped his hands with was thrown onto Ethan Taylor's face. Ethan Taylor didn't dare show any anger. The entire hall erupted in uproar. Ethan Taylor looked at Marcus Sullivan in disbelief. You. That's right, Audrey Miller is my wife, and she's also the project director for tonight's event. Chloe Williams screamed in disbelief, running around the hall. She's just a bankrupt's daughter. She's a deadbeat, Mr. Sullivan, don't let her. Slap. Before Chloe Williams could finish, Marcus Sullivan abruptly raised his hand and slapped Chloe Williams across the face. I don't hit women, but you. I know best what my wife is like. If I hear you insult her again, the next company to go bankrupt will be Taylor Corporation. Chloe Williams froze completely, and was pulled to Ethan Taylor's side. Mr. Sullivan. The ambulance is here. His assistant rushed over. Marcus Sullivan picked me up horizontally, and ordered without looking back before leaving. Notify all partners to terminate all business with the Taylor, Jenkins, and Davies families. Also, he coldly swept his gaze across everyone present. Those who laid hands on her tonight, I will find them one by one. Those who touched her, cursed her, or merely stood by, will all pay the price. I leaned against Marcus Sullivan, clutching his shirt, and mumbled distractedly, my necklace. Marcus Sullivan lightly kissed my forehead. Don't worry, it can be repaired. I'll contact the best restorer. I was taken to the hospital. Fortunately, there was nothing serious, just some minor injuries. When the door was gently pushed open, I thought it was the nurse on rounds, but when I looked up, I met a pair of bloodshot eyes. It was Ethan Taylor. He stood at the doorway, his suit was wrinkled, his tie hung loosely around his neck, dark stubble appeared on his chin. He looked as if he hadn't slept for days. But in his hand, he held a bouquet of incongruously vibrant flowers. My favorite lilies. In our youth, he always used to buy me a single stem on the way home from school and said lilies suited me best. But now, seeing these flowers again felt as if a lifetime had passed. Audie. He stumbled to the bedside. The smell of alcohol hit me. Who allowed you to marry someone else? Didn't you say you'd only love me? I almost laughed aloud. Ethan Taylor. I stared into his eyes and said word by word, you take a teenage joke seriously? His expression shifted slightly. He grabbed my wrist, but I truly, only ever loved you. What about Chloe Williams? I scoffed, pulling my arm back. Do I need to recount the disgraceful act you committed on the day of our engagement party? He was silent for a moment, then said in a low voice, that day was an accident. Chloe Williams got me drunk. My engagement to her was forced by my parents. The one I always loved was you. Ethan Taylor. I tiredly closed my eyes. We're over, stop deceiving yourself. I refuse. He knelt at my bedside, his eyes full of obsession. You should be mine, divorce him. As he spoke, he pinched my chin, trying to force a kiss. As I struggled, the needle slipped from my vein, making me gasp in pain. Ethan Taylor, you're crazy, don't make me hate you. Hate is fine too. He whispered close to my ear, at least better than forgetting me. Bang! The hospital room door was kicked open, hitting the wall. Mr. Taylor. A cold voice came from the doorway. Marcus Sullivan St. But there, his suit was impeccably tailored, but his eyes were as cold as ice. He walked in quickly, ripped Ethan Taylor away, and punched him in the face. What? Taylor Corporation is almost bankrupt, Mr. Taylor. Instead of going to work, you're here harassing my wife? Ethan Taylor fell to the ground, his glasses shattered, but he still struggled, screaming, she was always mine. We were childhood sweethearts for 10 years, we always said we'd be together forever. Her first kiss was in my attic. Ethan Taylor, she is now my legal wife. If you harass her again, I won't mind making Taylor Corporation disappear tonight. Marcus Sullivan grabbed Ethan Taylor's collar and shoved him against the wall. Someone, please escort Mr. Taylor out. Before leaving, he glanced back at me, his eyes filled with such complexity that my heart trembled. The door closed, blocking my view. Marcus Sullivan carefully lifted my bleeding hand. He pressed a sterile cotton ball on the wound and gently blew on it. Does it hurt? I shook my head. How is the Taylor family now? He pinched my cheek, his tone gentle. It will go bankrupt within a month. Indeed, in less than a week, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor came to apologize, bringing Chloe Williams with them. Chloe Williams had lost a lot of weight, her once exquisite makeup was now completely gone, and dark circles hung heavily under her eyes. She hung her head, pushed forward like a puppet by Mrs. Taylor. Mr. Sullivan. Mrs. Taylor forced a smile. Chloe Williams knows she was wrong, please be magnanimous. Chloe Williams said in a low voice, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Mr. Taylor even directly knelt down, slapped his own face repeatedly. The Taylor family cannot fall. Mr. Sullivan, please, give us a break, I beg you to be lenient. Marcus Sullivan sat by the bed, peeling an apple for me, and said without looking up, whether to forgive or not, it depends on my wife's wishes. Everyone from the Taylor family looked at me. Audie, we watched you row up too, there's no need to be so heartless, is there? I clutched the blanket tightly and said softly, Mrs. Taylor, do you remember? What did you say when my family went bankrupt back then? Mrs. Taylor's face stiffened. You said back then that since the Miller family was bankrupt, what was I still doing there, and that I shouldn't cling to Ethan anymore. Marcus Sullivan's expression suddenly turned cold. Mr. Taylor's forehead broke out in cold sweat. That's in the past. Yes, it is. I stood up. So, please leave. Mrs. Taylor also knelt down, trying to come forward and grab my hand, but Marcus Sullivan swatted her hand away. Audie, we were truly blind back then. But, for the sake of all those years of friendship, you can't push our family to ruin. It's not me who's driving you to ruin. I'm tired, please leave. Marcus Sullivan waved his hand, and bodyguards immediately came in and escorted the three out. During the half-month I was hospitalized, Ethan Taylor would occasionally come to see me, but 8 out of 10 times, he was turned away by bodyguards before he could even see me. On the day I was discharged, Ethan Taylor intercepted me in the underground parking lot. Marcus Sullivan stood in front of him, looking at him coldly. I held Marcus Sullivan's hand, looking at him helplessly. Say everything you need to say now, and then don't bother me again. Audie. His voice was hoarse. Chloe Williams has been thrown out. She's now been tormented to the point of being barely recognizable. Not a single part of her body is unharmed. The Taylor family is also finished. All partners have withdrawn their investments, they won't last much longer. So, you want me to pity you? No, I just want you to understand that I truly know I was wrong. Now I realize I can't live without you. Ethan Taylor spoke, trying to reach for my hand, but but Marcus Sullivan's warning glance scared him into stepping back 2 paces. Before, Chloe Williams relied on me and admired me, so in front of her, I always felt superior. It wasn't until now that I understood it was just my vanity at play. Audie, can you give me one more chance? Absolutely not. I closed the car door decisively. In the rearview mirror, his figure grew smaller and smaller, finally collapsing to his knees like a dog abandoned by its owner. I never thought I'd see Chloe Williams again. She stood in front of me, with disheveled hair, wearing tattered clothes, the collar still had dried bloodstains, and her face was streaked with tears. Audrey, can I have one last word with you? I watched her warily. What do you want to say? She unbuttoned her collar. It was covered in cigarette burns. I looked at her in shock. No wonder Ethan Taylor said she was tormented to the point of having no good skin left. Chloe Williams cried and clutched me. For a moment, it felt like we were back in the past. The Taylor family are monsters, they just take their anger out on me, locking me in the basement and tormenting me. I finally managed to escape. Audrey, I have a secret to tell you. She leaned close and whispered in my ear, actually, the trade secret from your family's company that was leaked back then. The Taylor family made me steal it. My blood ran cold instantly. I stared fixedly into her eyes. Don't look at me like that. I know I'm a bastard, but who told you to be so good to me? You often took me to your house. Your mother wasn't wary of me either. I easily snuck into the study. Chloe, you. But before I could finish speaking, a sharp pain shot through my abdomen. I looked down to see a knife deeply embedded in my body. Blood gushed along the handle, staining my clothes red. Audrey, aren't you just better at being born into privilege? Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. After all, you were the only one in the world who truly cared for me. Chloe Williams laughed hysterically, pulled out the knife fiercely and ran off. Quick, she killed someone, catch her. Samian. E nearby shouted. But it was too late. Chloe Williams ran towards the road and unhesitatingly ran into an oncoming truck. Bang! The screech of brakes intertwined with the dull thud of flesh hitting metal. Blood splattered, Chloe Williams's body was thrown high into the air, then fell heavily to the ground. Her eyes were still open, staring directly at me, a twisted smile on her lips. And in that moment, I fell. Darkness swallowed my consciousness. In a daze, I had a dream. In the dream, I met Chloe Williams for the first time. Back then, she was a shy girl, wearing a faded t-shirt, standing awkwardly at the dorm room door, clutching the corner of her shirt. Hello, I'm Chloe. When she smiled, her eyes curved like crescent moons. Throughout our 4 years of college, she was the poorest in our dorm. Often, because she had no money, she could only eat instant noodles and cheap coffee. After I found out, I always brought her along when I ate, secretly topped up her meal card, and bought her clothes and cosmetics. Her family favored sons over daughters, so she couldn't go home for holidays. Fearing she'd be lonely, I took her to my house. After my dad learned about her situation, he'd always tell me to bring something for Chloe Williams whenever he gave me anything, and he'd invite her along whenever we went out. But gradually, Chloe Williams changed. She started to care about her appearance, learned to do makeup. Every time she saw the designer dresses in my closet, her eyes held a complicated expression. Audrey, I'm so envious of you. She touched my dress, and said softly, you're the Miller family princess, everything looks good on you. But I didn't see it clearly back then. Besides envy, there was also jealousy and resentment in her eyes. She began to subtly approach Ethan Taylor. At first, she would still feign an explanation. Audie, don't misunderstand, I just happened to run into him. Later, she didn't even bother to pretend anymore, openly hooked her arm through his and smiled defiantly at me. Did I do something wrong? Or was I too good to her? At the end of the dream, Chloe Williams stood in a pool of blood, smiling grotesquely at me. Audrey, it's all because of you. You killed your mother, you killed me, you're a jinx. I jolted awake. My eyes met a dazzling white. Marcus Sullivan was clutching my hand tightly, his eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was hoarse. You're finally awake. Have you not slept for days? I raised my hand to touch his face, but pulled on the 4-tube, hissing in pain. Marcus Sullivan quickly took my hand and pressed it to his face. His palm was burning hot, his eyelashes trembled violently, and a tear fell onto the back of my hand. 3 days. His voice was hoarse. You were unconscious for 3 full days. I wanted to smile to comfort him, but tasted the salty tears at the corners of my mouth. I realized then that I had been crying too, without knowing when. Marcus Sullivan said that Chloe Williams died at the scene of the accident and is now in the morgue. No relatives came to claim her, and the Taylor family avoided her like the plague. I lowered my head, then looked at him again, saying softly, "I'll go, I should see her off." Marcus Sullivan's knuckles turned white. In the end, he just gently cupped my fingertips. "I'll go with you." I told Marcus Sullivan what Chloe Williams had told me. Marcus Sullivan was silent for a moment, then put his arm around me. "We can definitely trace it through the Taylor family's connections, and his company won't last much longer." However, all leads ended with Chloe Williams. Marcus Sullivan simply went directly to Taylor Corporation. "Mr. Richard Taylor, if you tell the truth now, Taylor Corporation still has a chance to survive." Mr. Taylor suddenly laughed, a hoarse and frantic sound. "Truth? What truth?" He slammed his hand on the table and stood up abruptly. "The company is already finished. The money's gone. What else do I have to fear? What good will it do if Taylor Corporation survived? I don't care anymore." Marcus Sullivan glanced at the distraught Mr. Taylor and said nothing. He just slipped him a business card. "Even if you don't consider yourself, you should consider your family, right? When you've thought it over, come find me anytime." A week later, Taylor Corporation went bankrupt. The once glorious the Taylor family estate was confiscated, and their family moved into a cramped rental apartment. Ethan Taylor, however, fell ill at this time, with a persistent high fever. But now they couldn't even afford his hospital bills. The Taylor family ran around trying to borrow money, but no one dared to associate with them. In his despair, Mr. Taylor found Marcus Sullivan's business card. Finally, with trembling fingers, he dialed that number. At the press conference, Mr. Taylor's face was etched with hardship, as if he had aged 10 years overnight. "Back then, I bribed Chloe Williams to steal Miller Company's confidential documents and spread them." His voice trembled, words coming out one by one. "Then, I framed Mr. Miller." Reporters gasped, camera flashes going off wildly. After the Miller family went bankrupt, Taylor Corporation acquired their core business. He closed his eyes, painfully covering his face. That's how Taylor Corporation came to be. As soon as he finished speaking, the police immediately took him away. Marcus Sullivan found the best doctors for Ethan Taylor, but Ethan Taylor's condition worsened day by day. He had late-stage lung cancer, essentially incurable. He stubbornly had people contact me repeatedly, saying he wanted to see me one last time. I went to the hospital. Looking at the gaunt Ethan Taylor, I suddenly felt a little disoriented. "What do you want to say? Say it quickly." He lay on the hospital bed, and the moment he saw me, his eyes lit up, then dimmed again. His voice was as light as a sigh. "I truly didn't know about what happened back then." I stood by the bed, saying nothing. "It was a deal, Ma. By my parents and Chloe Williams." He breathed with difficulty. "They promised that after it was done, she would marry into the Taylor family." He gave a bitter smile. "I'm sorry, I have no face to ask for your forgiveness." The hospital room was eerily quiet, with only the beeping of the heart monitor. He tremblingly extended his hand. "Will you hug me again?" I turned and left, without looking back. A month later, Ethan Taylor passed away. The day he died was also the day of Mr. Taylor's sentencing. The judge's pronouncement fell like a heavy hammer. Richard Taylor, due to commercial fraud, incitement to crime, and other offenses, is sentenced to 20 years in prison. The public gallery was in an uproar. Mrs. Taylor slumped dejectedly in her seat. Her face no longer held its former glow. She had lost everything. Her son was dead, her husband imprisoned. The Taylor family was utterly ruined from then on. Late at night at the Sullivan residence, I curled up on a wool blanket in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the rain outside. Marcus Sullivan brought a cup of hot milk. "Your father's reputation has been restored, and the truth behind Miller Company's bankruptcy has been revealed." I looked down at the ripples in the cup. "But my dad, he can't come back after all. I know why he committed suicide. That company was founded by him and my mother. It was a testament to their hard work and love. The year my mom passed away, he'd stare blankly at her belongings almost every day. The company was his last purpose." Marcus Sullivan walked behind me and gently wrapped his arms around me. His warm chest pressed against my cold back. The Taylor family was insatiably greedy. Even without Chloe Williams, they would have found another way. "You still have me." Outside, the heavy rain had just stopped, and moonlight pierced through the clouds. Marcus Sullivan took a velvet box from his pocket and opened it. It was the necklace that had been damaged at the banquet. Now restored as good as new. "I found the best artisan. It took a long time. Tomorrow, let's go visit your parents together." I took Marcus Sullivan's hand and said softly, "It's a good thing I have you by my side." Later, I established a foundation in my father's name. dedicated to helping entrepreneurs who went bankrupt due to commercial fraud. Marcus Sullivan stood beside me, looking at the plaque of the foundation engraved with Miller Hope Foundation, and chuckled softly, "Your parents would be so proud of you." When the media interviewed me, they asked what kept me going until today. I answered with a smile, "Its purpose." I looked up, gazing at the first row of the audience, and smiled, making eye contact with Marcus Sullivan, and love. All the hardships and sorrow of the past transformed into my motivation to move forward. Now I am no longer afraid, because Marcus Sullivan and I will walk hand in hand for a very long time. I went to the hospital, looking at the gaunt Ethan. I suddenly felt a little disoriented. "What do you want to say?" "Say it quickly." He lay on the hospital bed, and the moment he saw me, his eyes lit up, then dimmed again. "Audie," his voice was as light as a sigh, "I truly didn't know about what happened back then." I stood by the bed, saying nothing. "It was a deal made by my parents and Chloe." He breathed with difficulty. "They promised that after it was done, she would marry into the Taylor family." He gave a bitter smile. "I'm sorry, I have no face to ask for your forgiveness." The hospital room was eerily quiet, with only the beeping of the heart monitor. "Will you?" He tremblingly extended his hand, "hug me again?" I turned and left, without looking back. A month later, Ethan Taylor passed away. The day he died was also the day of Mr. Taylor's sentencing. The judge's pronouncement fell like a heavy hammer. Richard Taylor, due to commercial fraud, incitement to crime, and other offenses, is sentenced to 20 years in PRI. Son. The public gallery was in an uproar. Mrs. Taylor slumped dejectedly in her seat. Her face no longer held its former glow. She had lost everything. Her son was dead, her husband imprisoned. The Taylor family was utterly ruined from then on. Late at night at the Sullivan residence, I curled up on a wool blanket in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the rain outside. Marcus brought a cup of hot milk, saying softly, "Your father's reputation has been restored, and the truth behind Miller Company's bankruptcy has been revealed." I looked down at the ripples in the cup, "But my dad. He can't come back after all. I know why he committed suicide. That company was founded by him and my mother. It was a testament to their hard work and love. The year my mom passed away, he'd stare blankly at her belongings almost every day. The company was his last purpose." Marcus walked behind me and gently wrapped his arms around me, his warm chest pressed against my cold back. The Taylor family was insatiably greedy. Even without Chloe, they would have found another way. "You still have me." Outside, the heavy rain had just stopped, and moonlight pierced through the clouds. Marcus took a velvet box from his pocket and opened it. It was the necklace that had been damaged at the banquet, now restored as good as new. "I found the best artisan. It took a long time. Tomorrow, let's go visit your parents together." I took Marcus's hand and said softly, "It's a good thing I have you by my side." Later, I established a foundation in my father's name, dedicated to helping entrepreneurs who went bankrupt due to commercial fraud. Marcus stood beside me, looking at the plaque of the foundation engraved with Miller Hope Foundation, and chuckled softly, "Your parents would be so proud of you." When the media interviewed me, they asked what kept me going until today. I answered with a smile, "Its purpose." I looked up, gazing at the first row of the audience, and smiled, making eye contact with Marcus, and love. All the hardships and sorrow of the past transformed into my motivation to move forward. Now I am no longer afraid, because Marcus and I will walk hand in hand for a very long time.